So it's been a few weeks since we talked about the presidential race, but it is starting to heat up. There's been a few names jumping in, at least on the Republican side, even the Democrat side too. But on the Republican side, you got Larry Elder, who ran for governor in 2021. He's an official candidate. You got Nikki Haley, of course. We've talked about her in the past. Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas, has jumped in the race, along with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's kind of an entrepreneur. I think he's from Ohio. And then Donald Trump, of course. And that kind of leads us to another candidate jumping in the race. Tim Scott has formed an exploratory committee. Why is Tim Scott running for president, Thomas?
I would say probably because he's one of the more influential senators the GOP has. I mean, just get this out of the way. I'm not going to say anything, but he's like one of the only four senators that are African American in the Senate, and he's a Republican. And he wins his races by 30 points to South Carolina, something like that. He won pretty big last time. And South Carolina has gotten a little leftwards because Lindsey Graham only won it by like 12 or something like that when it ran his reelection.
Yeah, he faced a very strong challenge from Jamie Harrison, who's now like the head chair of the DNC or something like that.
Yep.
But Tim Scott, like as soon as he ran in 2022, as soon as it was called, it was Tim Scott was the projected winner. So very strong, but that kind of leads me to think. So obviously with establishment, maybe moderate voters, I'd say Tim Scott definitely does very well. I hear him praised by a lot of people, even on the left sometimes. But how will Trump people view him? And mainly how will Trump himself view him? Because that's kind of like, because Trump has pretty much ignored Nikki Haley outside of a couple instances, but with DeSantis, obviously, it's been just a bloodbath. Like he's gone straight after DeSantis. How do you think Trump will react to Tim Scott getting in the race?
Probably the same way he's reacted to the other people. It's only DeSantis Trump is targeting because he thinks that Trump thinks he's entitled to the nomination, and why he's not bashing all these other people is because he knows his pathway to winning the nomination again is to divide the primary. I mean, you only can beat Trump if you're one-on-one with him. You can't beat him with Haley, Scott, Elder, all these other people. Because I read a poll somewhere that only like 24% of the Republicans are Trump only, and that's it.
Only 24% interest. So there's a lot there. So he's been polling about 55%. So that means like 30% they like Trump, but they could be swung somewhere else. That's what you're kind of saying? Or
that's what I read somewhere. It was the CBS polling.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, you look at the names, Larry Elder, Asa Hutchinson, they've got no shot. You know, there's a couple other. Vivek Ramaswamy's been doing okay in polling in terms for someone who has like no political experience and all. He's probably not going to win either. Yeah. Probably like 5 to 10% he's been getting. I think, so let's talk path to victory possibly for Tim Scott, because Tim Scott is a big name. He gave the Republican response to the State of the Union a few years back. He's been obviously a very influential senator, and he wins a lot. I think Tim Scott is going to do better than Nikki Haley will, because I think he comes off as less establishment. Nikki Haley kind of seems like she'll say, well, whatever, like, you know, she's got a conservative record. I'm not.
Ironic thing is Haley appointed Scott to the Senate.
That is a little ironic. Yeah. I mean, because Haley has a conservative record. There's no doubting that. I just think Tim Scott comes off as a little more genuine. And like Thomas said, he wins his elections easily. So path of victory, he's got to attack the early states. It's got to be Iowa. I think Trump's going to run over. I think he's going to win New Hampshire. It's got to be Iowa and South Carolina if it's going to be for someone like Scott. He's got to have a good showing there. If you get because obviously South Carolina is his home state, right? If you're if you get like 5% in Iowa, is your home state really going to be pumped up to vote for you? Like, you know, they want to pick the winner. So that he's got to make his case, obviously in South Carolina, but it's got to come earlier. I think it's got to come in Iowa too.
Yeah. I mean, I would still say today, if the election were held today, even if Ron does announce he's going to run for president, Trump will be the nominee.
Yes.
Because I think Trump has the most name ID. He has the most popularity in the party. Am I saying Trump's going to win the election? No, I don't think that. I think if the election were held today, like the general, I think Joe Biden would probably win re-election.
Yeah, so right now, if I were to say a prediction, I think Biden would win narrowly in the general. I think it's going to be lower turnout all around. That might benefit Trump. If it was those two, Biden would have won narrowly, even closer than 2020, which was very close. But as the primary two, I got to agree. I mean, the polls show it. Trump would win. It would be over by Super Tuesday. Maybe even before then if Trump, if it stands right now. But we can't count on that because we don't know how the polling is going to stay. He got a huge bump after the indictment. That makes tons of sense. Even like never Trumpers like Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney were coming out and saying like, yeah, this is pretty messed up, like how they're going after him for this. I'm not a fan of Trump. This is messed up how they're doing that. So he got a bump up from that. Let's see if that stays. I don't know if that's going to quite stay.
But even then, like that's only for the Republican Party, not independents and people who vote Democrat, but they could vote anyone. But like I said, Trump has a court case he has to do right before the primary. That's going to be
January, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, will that help him or will that hurt him? That's true too. Yeah.
Right.